You're about to enter the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
A week with mixed results. Next to the Reb Zone, a look at last night's grind-out win against Wyoming and Wednesday's head-scratcher at Colorado State. Running Rebels head coach Dave Rice is in studio to break down both games. Plus, a look ahead to a crucial road game at Utah State. And we sit down with UNLV football coach Bobby HAUCK to talk about this year's recruiting class. Don't let the clock wind down. The Reb Zone is coming up big right now.
You are now entering the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Good evening and welcome inside the Reb Zone. Kevin Bollinger alongside Running Rebels head coach Dave Rice. This really, Coach, a roller coaster type of week for you guys.
It was. Didn't start off very well at Colorado State. Not much went right, but bounced back. Was proud of our upper class leadership. We practiced well for 2 days and got a very hard-fought win against a very good Wyoming Cowboys team.
Well, let's begin with a closer look at last night's win against Wyoming, where, as expected, it was a slow-paced and deliberate game.
Time is now, man. We ain't got nothing else to play for, man. We need to come out hard right now.
Wyoming at the Thomas and Mack, and it was clear this would be a fight right from the first possession. The Cowboys' Josh Adams with the spin move and dish to Derek Cook Jr. for the slam. Bryce DeJean Jones answered on the other end with this jumper in the lane to make it 2-2 early. Wyoming's strategy is to always slow things down and not start their offense until late in the shot clock. On this possession, the Rebels force a 35-second violation. With the tempo dictated, the Rebels work to get in an offensive flow. DeVille Smith knocking down a triple, but UNLV was only 2 of 11 from 3 in the first half. Bryce DeJean Jones drove to the hole for a lay-in to open a 5-point lead, but the Cowboys worked to get in his head, and at one point a double technical was called on BDJ and Nathan Sobey after the whistle. The two teams traded baskets. Jelon Kendrick knocks down a jumper. Roscoe Smith works inside for the bucket, and DeVille Smith alley-oops to Ken BIRCH. It was a low-scoring first half, with the Rebs winning to the locker room up 22-20. UNLV looked to get penetration and score inside in the second half. BIRCH with the bucket here to make it 30-24. Then Kevin Olekebe into the lane with the running one-hander, and Roscoe Smith banging inside to get the deuce. With just under 7 minutes to go, a big three by Olekebe gave the Rebels their largest lead of the game at 7. But Wyoming would not go away. Sobey gets the hoop and the harm to cut it to 4. And Riley Gravo knocks down a 3 to make it 44-42 with just 3 minutes left. UNLV fought back. Off the DeVille Smith miss, BIRCH is there for the tip-in. And then DeVille drives and the ball hangs on the rim and falls, pushing the lead back to 5. Grabo, though, nailed another 3 to cut it to 2 with just over a minute left. The Rebels held the ball to work the clock, but they never got a shot off on the possession and turned it over. Last chance for Wyoming, and everyone knew they would go to Larry Nance Jr. But BIRCH played great defense to alter the shot. It rolls off the rim, and UNLV earns a hard-fought victory, 48-46.
Our mindset was, just to be strong mentally, and just try to go harder on Wyoming and just try to execute.
It was just weird because we usually don't score 20 in the first half, but we knew what they were trying to do, and they did a great job. I give them credit, but as a team, we stayed together and we just pushed and got the W.
All right, let's start taking a closer look at this game, Coach. And Wyoming is such a deliberate team in terms of dictating the pace. They don't start their offense till late in the shot clock. For an offensive team that likes a more up-tempo style, how disruptive can that be?
Well, the first thing that was important that we stressed with our guys was to be very, very patient on the defensive end. We had to be that way. And Wyoming came in with a lot of confidence. They had taken New Mexico to overtime at the pit, had a chance in regulation to win the game and missed a shot. Had beaten Boise at Boise State. We know how difficult that is to do. And so just important for us to be patient on both ends of the floor, and I thought we did a very, very good job of that on the defensive end. In the second half, I thought the key was we shot 55% from the floor in the second half. We took care of the ball, had 7 turnovers for the entire game, so great victory for us going into the bye week.
When you get forced into a half-court game, the three-point shot kind of becomes a thing that's a tough situation. 2 of 11, I believe it was, in the first half. Only took 2 3-point shots in the second half. Did you talk about that at halftime in terms of trying to get more touches inside and staying away from the deep threes?
That was one of the things I wrote on the board at halftime, was that we had scored effectively when we had attacked the basket, and when we had just shot off 1 pass or 2 passes, that it wasn't as efficient for us. And so in the second half, we only took 2 threes. Again, I'm always going to give guys freedom. If we play inside out, we got the freedom to get our feet set. And I thought Kevin Olikabe hit a great and a huge momentum swinging 3-point shot off a flex 4 play that we run. But just overall, we shot 55% in the second half. We attacked the basket through dribble penetration, through post feeds, and again came away with a very hard-fought victory against a very well-coached and very good team.
That 3 by Olikabe came at a little more than 6 minutes left, and it made the lead 7, which was the largest of the game. When you talk about a flex 4 play, for the people who don't understand that, can you maybe explain what that is?
Yeah, it's just one of the sets that we run. We have a number of sets that we run. It's a play where we screen across for Roscoe Smith and bring him to the block, and then Kim Birch screens down for Kevin Olikabe, and it was something that just worked to perfection. They bit on the screen. Roscoe came across. They had a lot of respect for him, and then Kim Birch had a great down screen for Kevin Olikabe, who hit the huge 3, and it again put us up 7 and gave us a little bit of a gap. But of course, Wyoming, being the persistent team that they are and the well-coached team they are, did not give up, and it went right down to the wire.
We've talked a lot this season about Kim Birch's shot blocking abilities, but also that he alters shots, and that was certainly the case with that last play of the game with Larry Nance Jr.
Absolutely, and Wyoming is leading the conference in 3-point field goal percentage, and so we want to make sure we stayed home on their shooters. So we switched 4 out on the perimeter to make sure we didn't get a 3-point shot. And Kim Birch was a defensive player of the year in the conference last year, and he certainly will be a leading candidate to be that again this year. We have great respect for Larry Nance Jr. He's a terrific player, and it was a one-on-one battle, and we were fortunate to get the job done. Just so much respect for Kim and the job he does on the defensive end.
Well, Wednesday's game was a totally different story. UNLV went up to Colorado State, having only lost 2 games on the road this year, but it was a game with not a lot of positives.
The Runnin' Rebels looking for their first win at Moby Arena under Dave Rice, and early on it looked like they would compete. DeVille Smith nabs the steal and heads the other way, throwing it down with the left hand. DeVille followed that with an explosive first move and drive to the hole for the lay-in. But at that point, things fell apart for UNLV on both ends of the floor. Daniel Bejarano gets the hoop and the harm to open the lead to 7, and the Rams started bombing away. J.J. Avila knocking down the 3, and Bejarano putting in a triple. One highlight for the Rebels, the ball movement in transition over to Bryce DeJean-Jones for the slam. But Colorado State continued to get lanes to the basket, and the 2 teams went into the locker room with UNLV down 41-28. As bad as the first half was, the second half was no better. The Rams alley-oop from Avila to Santo. Then Bejarano bombs a 3 as a usually shaky 3-point shooting Colorado State team kept knocking them down. The Rebels' defensive pressure was lackluster, and at one point, all of the starters were put on the bench to see if the reserves could generate some momentum. But the Rebs couldn't get anything going, and Colorado State's lead kept building. A night to forget for UNLV as they get outplayed and out-hustled in a 75-57 loss.
All right, Coach, so how would you classify the effort that you got from your team in this game?
It was 2 issues. Number 1 was effort. Number 2 was execution, and neither was what it had been during our 4-game winning streak, winning 5 out of 6, winning 12 out of 15. I told the guys after the game that we're going to go back and watch film. We're going to do better. We're going to put this behind us, but we've got to learn from it. And let's not let one loss, one very, very bad loss, become 2. And so I was very proud of the way we rallied in practice the next 2 days and got ready for Wyoming. But it was a bad performance without question.
It seemed there were times when players were lost on the defensive end and just could not make any type of adjustments. And we've seen that a couple of times this year, but the first time in quite a while with this team.
Yeah, it was a strange situation. And I think the first thing is there was another team out there that was playing well. Colorado State was playing as good a game as they played all year long. That's a credit to them and to their coaching staff and their preparation. But again, we added to them being good. And it was the first time out of the Thomas Mack Center this year that we've seen that. We were we were getting to that game 6-2 out of our building. We'd always brought it from an execution, from an effort standpoint, and we just didn't have it that night. It was a poor performance, but something we needed to learn from and we need to never let happen again, without question.
For a team that stresses defense so much, when things aren't going well on the defensive end, how much does that carry over to the offensive end? Because it wasn't a great shooting night either.
Yeah, and I think that the two go hand in hand. And one thing we've got to do as we mature as a program is that we can't allow the fact that we miss some easy shots early to affect our defensive effort and defensive execution. And I think that happened to a certain extent. We got some shots early. It was a fairly close. I think it was 11-10 early. We missed some open threes. We missed a few layups. Didn't get to the line as much as we needed to, and I thought it affected our defensive execution, even more than our effort in that particular game. Something we can learn from, and I was proud that we bounced back and beat a very, very good Wyoming team on Saturday night.
At one point in the second half, you benched all of the starters and you had 5 reserves, even though they get substantive playing time during the year. What message were you trying to send, not just to the starters, but the whole team?
2 messages. Number one, I'm still trying to win the game. We're still trying to win the game. I'll never quit. With 1 second on the clock, we're still going to try to score or get a stop, whatever the score might be. But I was also sending a message to the fact that I'm going to have 5 guys on the floor at all times that are going to play hard and are going to execute the game plan. And so, again, it was not a matter of throwing the white flag. There's no white flag. I mean, we are going to play until the end. I just had a lot of confidence in how hard that group was playing at that particular time, and so that was really the message. But we were still absolutely trying to win the game.
Well, the Runnin' Rebels go back on the road for their only game of the week next Saturday. Straight ahead, we're going to preview the trip to Logan to face Utah State. That's a place that's considered one of the toughest in the country to play.
This Raising the Bar moment is brought to you by Born and Raised, the official home of Rebels on the Road.
Final seconds of the game against Wyoming. UNLV up 2, and the Cowboys go to their star, Larry Nance Jr. But Kem BIRCH comes up big on the defensive end, and the shot won't go, preserving the win. BIRCH's shot blocking abilities force another altered shot and delivers this week's Raising the Bar moment. UNLV has a bye on Wednesday, so only one game this week, and it's a doozy. A trip to Logan to take on Utah State in one of the most intimidating environments in the country.
Saturday afternoon, the Runnin' Rebels players will get their first taste of the craziness that comes with a trip to Logan. Utah State fans are rabid and provide one of the best home court environments in the country.
It's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets. I mean, I've had coaches tell me this is as good as Duke. This is unbelievable. The acoustics, 4,000 students going crazy. Place holds 10,270. We average close to 10,000. It's fun. It's wild. It's a hard place to come in and play. That's what we want it to be.
Getting an early lead and taking the crowd out of the game will go a long way towards success, but the players on the floor also pose a daunting task. UNLV did beat Utah State 62-42 at the Thomas and Mack on January 22nd. The Rebel defense smothering the Aggies, forcing them into a 30% shooting night, including 2 of 17 from long range. But Utah State is the best three-point shooting team in the Mountain West, and they do have the shooters capable of knocking down shot after shot. Spencer Butterfield and Preston Medlin lead the charge from outside and will require a lot of attention from the Rebel backcourt. Utah State's loss in Las Vegas also came without the services of leading rebounder Kyle Davis. This time, he'll be back on the court. Beating the Stu Morrill team is never easy. Beating them twice is tougher. The Rebels will need their A game on the road this Saturday.
Let's start with the environment in Logan because it is nuts. You know it. You were an assistant there for a year.
How do you prepare your team for something like that, and what do you do to take the crowd out of it as best as possible?
Well, I think the good thing for us is we've got older guys in our program who've played in hostile environments, and certainly this year playing at the McHale Center in Tucson, playing at the Pit, playing at Viejas Arena in San Diego. Those are all difficult environments to play in, but Utah State is right up there. It's one of the hardest places to play in the country. I had an opportunity to work for Stu Morrill for a year at Utah State. He's one of the great coaches in the country, and he always has his team ready. We understand the challenge of going and playing against a very good basketball team and in a very, very tough environment.
The first time these two teams met earlier this year, you definitely frustrated Utah State, especially their guards. They had a really rough shooting night. How important is it, because we know they're going to look at the tape and make the adjustments, do you mix things up a little bit, or do you stay with the same type of game plan you used the first time around?
I think a little bit of both. We played great defense that night. They missed some shots that they typically make. They missed some shots we know they'll make in Logan, and we know the kind of effort that they're going to bring. They have a great deal of pride. It starts again with their head coach, Stu Morrill, who's one of the best in the country. But it's a great opportunity for us, and with the bye week, it gives us an opportunity to continue to work on our conditioning, to work on the things we need to get better at. And I think the bye week, coming off a great Wyoming win, comes at a good time for us, and it's not going to be a week where we're going to take it easy. It's going to be a week we're going to work extremely hard for this stretch run with 7 league games still to play.
We're looking forward to it. We will be in Logan next Saturday to get all the highlights and hoopla of the Utah State craziness. Up next, we're going to switch gears to talk a little football. Wednesday was National Signing Day. So how did the Rebels do? Head coach Bobby HAUCK gives us some insight in just 2 minutes as the Reb Zone rolls on.
You're watching the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Wednesday was National Signing Day for high school football players to officially commit. UNLV signed a full 16 players, every spot that was open. Now, earlier this week, I sat down with head coach Bobby HAUCK to talk about the class of 2014.
Well, it's a good class, Kevin. I really like this group of kids. We had a small senior class, so it's a small number of signees. We also have 3 guys already enrolled mid-year that count forward into this class. So it's a good class, small in number, but we had to go get what we needed, and I think we accomplished that.
There were some immediate needs on this team, especially on the defensive line, and it looks like you decided to go the junior college route to address those.
Yeah, I think you need to replace seniors with JC guys. You can't replace seniors with freshmen in our game. It's not very productive. And so we went the junior college route with a couple of guys, and I think we did answer those needs. I think we created a great quarterback competition with Blake Decker coming in the door, and it should be a lot of fun to be out there at spring ball.
Blake Decker, a junior college transfer coming out of the Phoenix area. How much do you expect the competition to be? And because he is already enrolled, I would assume it starts right when spring practice starts.
Yeah, it's kind of already started. We've got our guys have throwing going on their own, and we've got winter conditioning going, and then the true competition will start in spring ball. We have 15 spring practices. We start March 3rd, and we'll compete those guys well into training camp. We won't make the decision just on those 15 spring practices. And the fact of the matter is you really need 2 guys at that position. It's pretty volatile, and you can't have one guy go down and then lose all hope of winning. So I like our guys, and I like our young guys and Kevin Thompson, who's coming in the door, and Jared Leibowitz, and hopefully good things will happen for them as well.
You guys signed a couple of defensive backs as well, but it sounds like you've got some guys that can be versatile, maybe going into various positions.
Well, we do. When you have good size, good frame kids that can run, they can play a variety of positions. We really try to project what they're going to become in 2 or 3 years, and we've had guys evolve from the secondary to playing even as far down as the defensive end position. We've had wide receivers that evolved into linebackers, Tim Hassan being one of those guys. So you never really know exactly. We have a position where we're going to try them at, and generally they find a home.
You made it very clear when you came here 4 years ago that you wanted to go after local kids, local big-time players that could play at the D1 level, and it appears with 4 signees, you've done that this year.
Well, we did. There were 11 kids in the area that signed Division I scholarships. We offered scholarships to 9 of those 11 and got 4 of those guys. So our batting average was pretty good. I'm real appreciative of those 4 young men for deciding to represent Nevada and their home state and their hometown at UNLV, and everybody else should be too. But Austin Hunt, Connor Perkins are going to take church missions, and it will play out perfectly for them to come back and immerse themselves in the lineup. And then Mike Hughes and Tim Huff are guys that can play. They're dynamic athletes at their position and tough, hard-nosed guys that are good students and good players. And we're just as excited as we can be to have those 4 kids.
You're fired up and ready to go. Spring practice right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Hard to believe, isn't it? Seems like we were just sitting in Dallas, you and Robbie and I, filming this thing, and now it's signing day, and then before we know it, we'll be out there and you'll be asking me about the quarterback battle on the first day of spring ball.
Oh, you can count on that's going to happen. Thanks, Coach. Again, spring practice begins on March 3rd, the opener at Arizona at the end of August. And one other football note from UNLV, running back Tim Cornette has been invited to the NFL Combine, getting a shot to impress the scouts before the NFL Draft. Coach Rice rejoins us after the break with his thoughts, and we'll have the Runnin' Rebels Plays of the Week. First, though, here's a look at how other Mountain West teams did over the weekend.
You're watching the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Welcome back inside the Reb Zone. Coach, the Wyoming game, even though it was a low-scoring, grind-out affair, was really an important win here as you make the stretch drive down the regular season.
I was proud of our group, but we did not play well at all at Colorado State on Wednesday. We bounced back, we practiced well for 2 days, and we came out with great energy, executed our game plan, and got a hard-fought victory.
Is it a good time to have a bye and get the legs a little rested as you make that stretch drive and get ready for March?
I think it is. I think from a standpoint of it gives us an opportunity to work on some things, to take a look at some extra film with our guys, to get some extra shooting in, to get back with our conditioning and just get some guys some rest. We got a couple guys that are banged up a little bit. That's true of all teams at this time of the year. But just an opportunity with 7 conference games in the conference tournament. It gives us an opportunity to add a few things and just continue to get better.
Well, that is a wrap for us inside the Reb Zone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with the Runnin' Rebels Plays of the Week. Good night.
Welcome to the new age.